How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Understanding Anxiety with Trace. So today's topic is we're trying to shift your perspective from avoidance to opportunity. The reason that this video is taking so long, I didn't want to present this video at first, is because there's a lot of those videos before. We had to lay some groundwork, we had to make some progress in certain areas. Because when you're first dealing with anxiety, the concept of it being an opportunity is so far removed from the realm of possibility in your mind that it's not really going to sit with you. It's not going to jive per se. So we want to talk about this concept, and this also relates back to all of the previous videos and all the previous concepts that we've been working on, all of the work that you guys have been doing as far as in your own life. But basically, the concept is this: when we are first experiencing our anxiety, let's say before you've come to this course or before you've sought out help, you're in this avoidance state, right? Or we experience the trigger, we're trying to avoid the triggers, we're trying to avoid the panic attack and avoid the anxiety. And as we know before in our previous videos, that actually helps contribute towards the anxiety itself. So what we want to try to do is actually change this focus. We want to change that focus to one of opportunity. And what I mean by this is not that the panic attack itself will be a joyful experience. I don't want to say that our goal here is to make you feel happy about a panic attack. If anything, I would say a neutral perspective would be best. But the idea that that anxiety or triggers or panic attacks can be an opportunity for growth is a very crucial concept to this whole course. And the reason being is that until we're able to see the anxiety as an opportunity, we're going to stay stuck in this avoidance area, and it's going to we'll be struggling against it. We may make some progress as far as how often or how bad they are, but it's still going to come around. So in order to really widen that circle, in order to really deal with it, we're going to have to shift that perspective. So how do we do that, right? It's not easy. It's like, oh yeah, I'll just think about it as an opportunity. It doesn't work like that. There's certain things that we have to kind of undertake in order to get to that point. This isn't a switch that you can flip. So the first thing that I want to talk about is we want to recognize that every single insight that we have about it is leading to growth. So what I mean by insight, so in the last video we talked a lot about introspection, different things that you can do as far as finding out what your root triggers are, linking that to your beliefs, linking that to your needs. We kind of talked about, the 3 points and the state. And what this is boiling down to is that everything that you've learned from me, everything that you've learned from yourself through your own introspection, every bit of research that you've done, every little bit of insight that you've gained about what's going on with your anxiety, it is growth. It is personal growth. It's growth with your anxiety. It's growth on a mental, emotional level. So there's a lot of different things, even outside of the anxiety, that are positive as far as what they've done for you. So we have to kind of adopt this mindset that, as I work on this, it may not be easy, but this is really actually very beneficial. This is helping me grow as an individual. I'm getting stronger. My mental and emotional fortitude is higher. I'm able to kind of set aside emotions, even just a small amount, so that I can try to, introspect a little, see what's going on. Those things all count as growth. And when you recognize that, that's going to help contribute to this shift in perspective, right? The next thing I want to talk about is the patterns to vitality. So if you did your needs worksheet, if you were able to identify some things that you could change, if you've made those small changes and you're starting to experience that snowball effect that we talked about, where you're getting more energetic, you have more mental fortitude, you have more physical vitality in the sense that you're not worn down, you're taking care of your body. As you're able to change these patterns, you're going to see that increase in vitality. And so automatically you can associate that with, okay, well, before the anxiety, these are my patterns. And now that I've started to work with my anxiety, I've seen that I've been able to change these patterns, and that's actually been positive for me in all senses. I'm more healthy, I'm more calm, I'm more focused. There's a lot of benefits to changing your patterns outside of anxiety altogether. And so what I want you to see is that being presented with these patterns and working on those patterns and getting that vitality is also growth. This is also a positive opportunity type of deal. And of course, the last thing is the negative to positive aspect. And this is kind of what we've touched on with all of these aspects, is that we want to try to see the experience of the anxiety, the process that has been in our life, from a negative thing to be avoided to a positive thing. And that only happens when we start to make insights. It only happens when we change our patterns. If we're doing the work, we're going to see positive outcomes. And the goal here is that I want us to be able to start to expect those positive outcomes, in the sense that that whatever your anxiety is going to present to you, or whatever your process is with anxiety at the moment, that because you're working on that stuff, you're working on your needs, you're working on your patterns, you're working on your triggers or your root causes. You're working on making sure that your bucket is filled up, it doesn't have a lot of holes in it. So all of those things are very positive and beneficial things for you. And so we want to expect in the long term that, this thing is actually creating a lot of positive change in my life. Because this anxiety has been presented to me, because this is a thing that happened to me, I'm actually starting to experience these positive benefits of that. And that's the core concept that we're trying to reach here, is that if we can go from avoidance of this thing that we have labeled as negative and change it to a perspective of opportunity, that, oh wow, looking back over the last, couple of months, I can see all of these changes I made that have been really helpful and really positive for me. And, at some level, I have to be grateful for that. I may not enjoy the experience of anxiety, but I do have to be grateful that it spurred me into action, that it's brought me to a point where I have to focus on myself and that I have to take care of myself. So we have to change that to opportunity. And what you'll notice is that, I've gone through this myself, what you'll notice is that as soon as you find the willpower in yourself to work on anxiety, as soon as you adopt these attitudes of, I'm going to have to work on this, it's just what it boils down to, and as soon as you recognize that, hey, these are good things happening because of the work that I'm doing, as soon as you make that shift, it's almost like the anxiety subsides by like a notch. At that point, it's almost as if it never is really as bad as it was before. Now, that may not be the case for everybody. That was my personal experience. And actually, I can give you an example. I went to a 2-week silent meditation in Kaufman, Texas. And I went into this experience knowing that it's like, okay, and this was when I was still having a lot of issues with my anxiety. I went into it knowing that I was going to have, an experience with the anxiety. I knew it was going to come up at some point because it was a very unique circumstance. I didn't have a lot of control over anything. But what happened was, as soon as that trigger came up, I got excited. I got excited that it was presenting itself to me so that I could work on it, because I was ready to make progress. I was tired of, not making progress. I was tired of the same patterns. And as soon as I shifted that from, avoidance to that excitement of the opportunity to work with it, it vanished. Completely vanished. I didn't have any more problems for the rest of that, 2-week experience. And I may have told this story in my other video, but my point is that when you change it from avoidance to opportunity, it fundamentally changes how you deal with your triggers. Even to this day, when a trigger is presented to me, 90% of the time, my response is, okay, well, if this happens, then I'll deal with it. And it's not a like, I guess I'm gonna have to deal with it kind of thing. And it's not necessarily like, oh yes, I get to deal with it. It's not really either one of those, but it's more of just like, okay, this is what's gonna happen, and it's an opportunity to deal with it. It's an opportunity to work on it. So that's kind of the whole concept that I have for you in this video. And I understand that this is not something that everybody's going to be able to adopt immediately. This is something that takes time. It's important in this process to be gentle with yourself, to recognize that I have to be patient. It's going to take a while for these things to happen. But ideally, if you can recognize some of these things, you can start to make that shift. Like I said, it's not a switch, it's going to happen gradually, but when you get there, you'll recognize that change in your perspective, and that's going to make a big difference for you, and it's going to help catalyze all the growth that we'll have with our anxiety from here on out. So again, guys, if you have any questions, if you want to message me personally, you can do that on the Facebook page or on YouTube. Feel free to let me know if you have any more personal questions as far as what will work for you or apply with you. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. But otherwise, I'll see you guys next time.